The Windy City, Chicago, 1982. A bustling metropolis known for its towering skyscrapers, vibrant culture, and the relentless hustle and bustle of its streets. A place buzzing with life, suddenly paralyzed by fear. The once crowded streets now eerily empty, as if the city itself was holding its breath. It began with seemingly unrelated deaths, a string of tragedies that would soon plunge the city into chaos. News reports started to flood in, each more alarming than the last. Ordinary people going about their day, struck down by an invisible enemy, their only connection, Tylenol, the common pain reliever found in every household. The trusted pain reliever, a staple in medicine cabinets across America, transformed into a weapon of silent, indiscriminate death. The very thing meant to alleviate pain was now the harbinger of doom. The victims were young and old from different walks of life. No one was safe, and the randomness of the attacks only heightened the terror. What they shared was a horrible, agonizing death. Families were left shattered, their grief palpable in the air. Their deaths sent shockwaves through the city, then the nation. Headlines screamed of the Tylenol murders, and the entire country watched in horror. The fear was palpable, a suffocating dread that settled over Chicago. The city that never slept was now gripped by an unrelenting nightmare. People were afraid to touch anything, to leave their homes. The simplest of tasks became daunting, as the invisible threat loomed large. The simplest acts, like taking a headache pill, became fraught with terror. Trust was shattered, and paranoia took its place. The authorities were baffled, scrambling to find answers in a race against time. Every second counted, and the pressure was immense. The killer was invisible, a phantom lurking in the shadows, leaving a trail of death in their wake. The city was on edge, waiting for the next strike. It began on September 29, 1982, a day that would forever change the landscape of consumer safety in America. 12-year-old Mary Kellerman of Elk Grove Village woke up complaining of a sore throat. Her parents, concerned but not overly alarmed, gave her a Tylenol capsule, the extra-strength kind, hoping it would ease her discomfort. She took the capsule in the kitchen, just like any other day, and within moments, she collapsed. Her parents rushed her to the hospital, but it was too late. Mary Kellerman was dead, and no one knew why. The medical staff was baffled. How could a healthy young girl die so suddenly? The answer would soon become horrifyingly clear. That same day, Adam Janus of Arlington Heights, a postal worker, took Tylenol for muscle pain. He too collapsed and died shortly after. The tragedy didn't end there. His brother Stanley and sister-in-law Teresa, grieving and in shock, took pills from the same bottle to alleviate their own pain. They also died soon after, leaving a family shattered and a community in fear. Panic began to set in. The news of these mysterious deaths spread like wildfire, and the public was gripped by fear. The deaths, all in the Chicago metropolitan area, were too similar to be a coincidence. Authorities quickly realized they were dealing with something far more sinister than isolated incidents. Over the next few days, more victims fell prey to the poisoned pills. Each new death added to the growing terror and confusion. Mary McFarland, a flight attendant, Paula Prince, a manager, and Mary Reiner, a mother of 4, all died after taking Tylenol. The common thread was becoming unmistakable. These were not just random victims, they were people with families, jobs, and futures. Their sudden deaths left a void that could never be filled. All died after taking Tylenol, a trusted household name. The realization that a common, over-the-counter medication could be deadly was almost too much to bear. The city was in the throes of a public health crisis. Fear and uncertainty loomed over Chicago like a dark cloud. Hospitals were inundated with people fearing they, too, had ingested the deadly pills. The healthcare system was stretched to its limits. Stores pulled Tylenol from shelves in a desperate attempt to prevent more deaths. The once trusted brand was now a symbol of fear. The media was in a frenzy, broadcasting warnings and updates around the clock. The entire nation watched in horror as the tragedy unfolded, hoping for answers that were slow to come. The investigation was massive, a desperate search for answers in a city paralyzed by fear. The FBI, the FDA, and local law enforcement agencies joined forces, working tirelessly to find the source of the poisoned capsules. The investigation quickly revealed a chilling fact. The Tylenol capsules had been laced with potassium cyanide, a lethal dose capable of killing within minutes. But the question remained, how did the cyanide get into the capsules? The investigation focused on the manufacturing process and distribution chain of Tylenol. They examined bottles from the victims' homes, stores where the Tylenol was purchased, and the manufacturing plants. The investigation revealed a terrifying possibility. The tampering had occurred after the Tylenol left the factory. Someone was opening Tylenol bottles, adding cyanide to the capsules, and then placing them back on store shelves. The investigation took on a new urgency. Who would commit such a heinous act? The search for the Tylenol killer became a nationwide obsession. Tips poured in, but most led to dead ends. There were a few promising leads. One of the most intriguing involved James William Lewis. Lewis, a New York resident, sent an extortion letter to Johnson & Johnson, the makers of Tylenol, demanding $1 million to stop the killings. He was apprehended, but despite his chilling letter, authorities could not link him directly to the poisonings. Other theories emerged. Was it a disgruntled employee seeking revenge? A random act of terror? The possibilities were as numerous as they were unsettling. But despite the tireless efforts of investigators, the case remained unsolved. The Tylenol killer, it seemed, had vanished into thin air. Section 5. The Tylenol Terror's Legacy, a turning point for safety. The Tylenol murders were a watershed moment. The case shook the nation's confidence in the safety of over-the-counter medications. It forced a complete overhaul of the pharmaceutical industry. In the wake of the poisonings, tamper-resistant packaging became the norm. Triple-sealed bottles, induction-sealed caps, and tamper-evident bans were introduced to restore public trust. The FDA implemented stricter regulations for the production and packaging of over-the-counter drugs. The Tylenol murders led to the introduction of tamper-resistant packaging and federal anti-tampering laws. It was a costly but necessary response to an unprecedented crisis. The Chicago Tylenol murders remain one of America's most baffling unsolved mysteries. In the fall of 1982, 7 people lost their lives after ingesting cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules, sending shockwaves through the nation. Decades have passed, but the case continues to haunt the city and the nation. The unanswered questions linger. Despite extensive investigations, the perpetrator was never found, leaving a cloud of uncertainty and fear. Who was the Tylenol killer? What was their motive? These questions have plagued law enforcement and the public alike, leading to numerous theories and speculations. Was it a calculated act of terror, a desire to instill widespread fear, or perhaps a sinister plot to undermine public trust in consumer products? Or was it the work of a deranged mind seeking twisted satisfaction in the suffering of others? The randomness of the attacks only adds to the chilling nature of the crime. The lack of answers only deepens the mystery, fueling speculation and theories. Each new piece of evidence seemed to lead to more questions rather than solutions. The case serves as a chilling reminder of the vulnerability of everyday life. It forced a nation to confront the unsettling reality that danger can lurk in the most mundane places. It highlights the dark side of human nature, the capacity for senseless violence that can erupt without warning. The memorials and tributes serve as a somber reminder of the lives lost and the impact on their families. The Tylenol murders are a stark reminder that even in the most ordinary of places, evil can lurk, leaving behind a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. The case remains a haunting chapter in America's history, a puzzle that may never be solved. Despite the passage of time, the Tylenol murders continue to fascinate and frustrate in equal measure. The absence of a conviction has allowed speculation to thrive, with theories ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Some believe the killer was a disgruntled employee of Johnson & Johnson, seeking revenge against the company. Others point to a copycat theory, suggesting the killer was inspired by similar, albeit less lethal, product tampering incidents. Still, others believe the killer was driven by a desire for notoriety, to achieve a twisted form of fame. The random nature of the victims and the lack of a clear motive only add to the puzzle, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. The legacy of the Tylenol murders extends far beyond the immediate victims and their families. The case cast a long shadow over the pharmaceutical industry, forcing it to confront the vulnerability of its products and the potential for criminal tampering. The fear generated by the poisonings led to a significant decline in Tylenol sales and a widespread distrust of over-the-counter medications. It took years for Johnson & Johnson to rebuild its brand and regain public trust. The case also had a profound impact on consumer behavior. People became more cautious about the products they purchased and consumed, scrutinizing packaging for any signs of tampering. The Tylenol murders marked a turning point in the public's perception of product safety, a shift that continues to this day. The Chicago Tylenol murders serve as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the randomness with which tragedy can strike. The case continues to capture the imagination, inspiring books, documentaries, and countless theories. Despite the passage of time, the victims remain etched in the collective memory, their lives tragically cut short by an act of senseless violence. Their deaths serve as a somber reminder of the human capacity for evil. The unsolved nature of the case only adds to its mystique, ensuring that the Tylenol murders will continue to fascinate and horrify for generations to come. It is a story that refuses to fade away, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life.